We had a friend who was a youth leader who was in the church. He was very well respected. We used to have sleepovers. We used to go on day trips. He used to take photographs. He was a photographer. It was fun. We used to enjoy going, but it started to get different. That he started to be inappropriate. He started to say inappropriate things to us. And hi, my name is Tabitha. I live here in Derry, Londonderry. I've lived here since I was 10 years old. Growing up, I was brought up in a Christian home. We went to church. We did all the things that a typical Christian family would do. We had a friend who was a youth leader who was in the church. He was very well respected. He was very important in our life. We used to have sleepovers. We used to go on day trips. He used to take photographs. He was a photographer. It was it was fun. We used to enjoy going. My parents obviously trusted him, but it started to get different. It felt it felt a bit weird that he started to be inappropriate. He started to say inappropriate things to us, and unfortunately, from the age of 3 onwards, uh, I'd suffered horrible abuse. Um, First mentally and then sexually, and never told anybody because there was something in me that knew that it was wrong. Um, Never told family. Told my sister. We were unfortunately together in this. It just became something that happened because he was respected. He was our church leader. You listened to them. You were guided by them. So you just went with what they said was right. We moved to Northern Ireland then when I was 10 years old. Now, the abuse didn't stop because he used to come and visit. He used to come and stay with us. So it continued right through till I'd say I was maybe 14. I'm quite boisterous and quite loud. And I feel like looking back that maybe he was worried that I would start to talk. Um, so thankfully that stopped. But what I didn't realize was that the emotional abuse was somewhat stronger and had a hold on me. Um, so growing up, I felt like it was normal. I felt like that's what I was here for. Unfortunately, I'd also went through abuse from another member of the church, another person who was really close, and that went on until I was a lot older. But again, thought it was normal, so didn't discuss it with anybody. Didn't really hear about that stuff when I was younger, so it just felt like it was normal. So I kind of started to go away from the church a little because, as you would understand, I blamed the church. I think I maybe even blamed God. As soon as I turned 18, we were allowed to make a choice whether we went to church or not, and of course, I didn't go. Um, Ended up moving out of home and meeting my daughter's father. I was aged 18, 19, and I knew I was searching for something, and I felt like I was trying to get away from God and the church. So I went into the to this relationship very quick. He was a lot older than me. Within 3 months, engaged, moving in, thought this was the answer to everything that I was searching for. Until then, there started to be a bit of emotional abuse there. And I thought, oh, this feels a bit wrong, but maybe this is what normal is. So I started to go along with it. Um, got separated from my family because I felt like that's what I had to do. If I wanted a good relationship, if I wanted to be happy, I had to do what I was supposed to do, which was not linking with my family anymore, financially, hand it all over, and just do what I was told, basically. Um, Unfortunately, that started to get physical, and I'd never really experienced the physical side of it, the violence of abuse, but I thought this is different to what I was used to. So I got stuck with that for about 4 years. But I always remember for the 4 years thinking, I want to go back to church. And then when I would think about it, I would think, why would you think that? That was the place that was the worst to you. Um, but I always felt like I longed for something, and for some reason I thought I might give God another try. So I started to kind of pray every now and again and just ask God to help me. If this is wrong, then get me out of it. And then one evening, it was my daughter, she was about 10 months old. And I started to think, if this happened to her, I would be so cross. I would be mad. And I wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't. So then I started to think, well, why would I do it? I remember praying that night, and my partner had left the house, and I remember praying so hard that night and asking God, I need you to get me out of this right now. I can't do it. I couldn't leave. I had an emotional block that stopped me from leaving. And I just said, right, God, you need to get me out of this. And then I went to bed. About 1 a.m., my partner came home very drunk. And that night was the worst of all abuse I've ever experienced. It was just unthinkable. And this time it happened while holding my daughter. And the minute that happened, I got up and I left, called the police. And from that moment on, I didn't have to feel that abuse anymore. And I'm not saying that God allowed or made him do that. I'm not saying that was from God, but that was my chance to get out. So either way, I'm thanking God. Um, so I finally got out, moved into my own house, and thinking everything would be perfect because I was out. It wasn't. It actually got worse. I felt myself thinking things were better with him because he helped me with things. He was a DIY man. He was there if I needed 5 minutes just to even do the dishes. But I didn't have all that and I was on my own. And because I'd severed my ties with my family, it was difficult to get back. I know they were there for me, but it was difficult to just jump straight back in. Um, so then I found myself just going for walks with my daughter in the pram. And I remember walking past this church building, and it wasn't a typical church building. I'm used to the old fashioned kind of churches. This was just like a community centre. And I remember seeing the name of it, and the words were Life Triumphant. And I thought, wow, that sounds like something I would like. But they didn't have the times for their service on. And I thought, oh, I must tell them. I must tell them someday because that's really important. So I kept on walking past every Sunday, hoping it would be open. And I must have just got the times wrong, or I don't know, it wasn't open, or maybe the doors were just closed and I didn't want to go in. But I just felt, "Oh, I really want to go, but I couldn't go." And then I bumped into a friend who I hadn't seen in a long time. We met up for lunch then, and we were talking about it, and she actually said that she went to that church. And I thought, wow, that is not an accident. So the following Sunday, I went to church, and I don't really remember what the sermon was about, but I always remember the two words that the pastor had said, and it was Jesus heals. And now I went to Sunday school all my life. I knew every story you can think of in the Bible about him healing the lepers, him raising the dead. I knew that God could heal, but I didn't need physical healing. I needed to be healed from the inside out. And I think that was the first time in my life where I learned that Jesus can heal you, can heal your heart. And that's what I needed. So I wasn't waiting around. I gave my life to God right away. And I thought, right, that's it. My life's gonna be perfect. Great. So of course that doesn't happen that way. So I went through a few years of feeling like seek God, he has your purpose and all this kind of stuff. And I remember thinking my purpose was to be used. That's what I always felt that my purpose was just to be abused. And then obviously seeking God, praying, reading the Bible more, I started to realize that no, that is not my purpose. That was man's plans. That was a broken man or men who use their, I suppose, their position of power, their position in the church to have a way of their own. And I started to realize that is not of God. That is not what God wanted for me. That is not what God wants for me or for anybody. I started to believe that my purpose was not of that. And it was quite strange because I was able to forgive those men. I was able to hand over every pain and every hurt, hand it over to God and say, right, God, you didn't give it to me, but you're willing to take it off me. So I gave it over to him and I forgave those men. And it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. But the thing that I know is that no matter what I go through, because it hasn't been perfect since, but no matter what I go through and no matter what comes my way, when I turn to God, it's easier. And I always think of the scripture in Psalm 23, even though you walk through the valleys, that he will prepare a table for you in amongst the enemies. And it's like I never looked at it like that. I always thought that was the scripture for funerals. But when I looked at that and read it more and studied it more, I realized that God didn't say, I'm going to take away all this. I'm going to take away the enemies. It's going to be perfect and we're going to have a big meal. No, he's basically saying that we're going to sit down and have a big feast and have a meal in the presence of all your enemies. So when I have moments, because I still have moments where I get emotional about it, I feel down, or I feel, sometimes even I feel scared for my own children. But then I remember that God is with me through this. As long as I keep him close, then I can get through it. I can come out the other side, I guess. So definitely this has not put me off church at all. So I think from now on, anything that happens, the first place I'm running to is God and church. So yeah.
I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that watches this channel, and we have some exciting news. We are looking to help people who want to get into YouTube or even just social media in general. If you feel like God's calling you, to start a ministry, to preach online, but you just don't know how to start, or you're nervous and you want someone to walk you through it and help you, we can help you with that. So there's going to be a link below to the website if you want to go check it out, and you can actually book like a 20-minute free consultation just to see if we'd be suited to each other and we'd be able to help. I look forward to hopefully working with you. So yeah, God bless.